So thank you all for joining me on the stage. We'll be having the main book launch right now.
Photo, stand, there.
My hearty congratulations to Mrs. Mala Mahesh for being on this book. I'm very thankful for having it either on Sunday. Thank you.
எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம். ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமாக இந்த ஒரு ரொம்ப ஒரு முக்கியமான ஒரு நாள் இன்னைக்கு. மை டியர் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் மகேஷ் அண்ட் மாலா, ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமாக இருக்கேன். அவங்களோட இந்த புக் ரிலீஸ் அன்றைக்கி எனக்கு வர முடிஞ்சு ரொம்ப I mean, this is a very special landmark for her, and feeling so happy for her and wishing her the very, very best. The book has got amazing reviews, and that's what is so that's what makes us so happy. And in fact, it's a coincidence that our family is also part of this occasion, because there's something that I wanted to share. Is our family, that's my great grandfather, for the last 120 years has been dedicated to the service of women's health. And our my mother has been practicing for the last so many years, and we specialize in medicines for infertility. So it's quite a coincidence that we are also part of this whole occasion, and we feel really happy, Mahesh, and all the best to you.
ஜனங்களை பார்க்கறதுக்கே சந்தோஷமாக இருக்குது. கோவிடுக்கு அப்புறம் அது தெரிஞ்சவங்க இல்லை. ஸ்டேஜில் உள்ள பேர் ஜாமான் லைக் மெடிக்கல் ஃபீல்ட்லேயோ ஃபிலிம்லேயோ சிங்கிங்லேயோ எல்லாம் கிரேட் ஆர்டிஸ்ட் இருக்காங்க. என்ன பேச சொன்னாங்க. மியூசிஷியன் வந்து வாசிக்கிறதா இது டான்ஸ் ஸ்பீக்கிங் இஸ் வெரி ஹாப்பி டு பி ஹியர். அண்ட் நிறைய ரிவ்யூஸ் புக்கை பற்றி படிச்சுட்டு இருந்தேன். லுக்கிங் ஃபார்வர்ட் டு get my copy and my copy, and what a wonderful start for this evening with our Krishna sang really beautifully well. All about the Indian inspiration of another practice thank you, and I wish Malaji all the very best and many more to come. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you for having invited me on stage, and congratulations to the Mahesh family and Mala. I can understand when your daughter says how tough it must have been for you to have written this over 10 years. As a mother myself, I know what it is. And to dedicate 3 hours sincerely every day, congratulations to you, and to come out with a finished book. Superb. So I wish you all the best. And just focus. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody, and lovers of literature, people who enjoy books, friends of the Mahesh family, great musicians on the stage, my dear friends. Writing a book is no easy feat, because you take a piece of paper, the first few lines come out. By the time you finish the paper, you're convinced it is not so good. And then you leave it, and the next day you read it, you're convinced it's very bad, and you junk it. So many scripts lie scrolled up inside our waste paper baskets that the idea that you pick, you have to actually find a good enough idea to stay invested in it for a very long period of time when you're writing a novel. And as it has been said by Mala and Mala's daughter, that it's 11 years of effort. So for 11 years you should get tired of these characters and their settings and their predicament. And this is indeed a testament to the fact that there has to be some depth inside this. So when one is looking at Padma's life and trying to figure it out, there are so many layers inside Padma's life which is so unique, and it was in 1900, 100 years before. And around that period, when a woman didn't have a child, it was, literally curtains, even if your husband loved you. And if your husband goes and takes another wife and there's a child born, she's so excited, and I started getting a feeling that I'm going to see Yashoda and Devaki kind of a phenomenon here, because you're raising somebody else's child, and then when the child slips and falls, it's like, oh my God, it's like, what has happened? And then the trials and tribulations and the love of the husband. But what struck me was the kind of quality of Victorian literature inside that, where in which she moving to another house and then becoming an agriculturist and raising money and wealth, and thereby retaining her status, that seemed a very positive, strong force, in the agrarian society. In that time, women were just about getting educated, and to be able to think of a character, which is a real character in this particular case, that she could sufficiently give wealth. But there is so much of complexity in the character. It's not just a pure, nice person. Diamonds come in, family politics come in, and you make mistakes and then you recover. And this is one such story. And when you're counterpointing it with 100 years later, and then things are so different, right? So you have, but the tribulations are the same. So when I was reading this story, I was fascinated by another great book which I had come to know and read and seen, and it's called The French Lieutenant's Woman. It's by John Fowles, and Fowles writes about it in a way in which he was fascinated by one visual of a Victorian woman standing on a quayside. and she used to work in some family, and she was sort of disgraced, and she stood in the quayside, near the looking at the sea. So based on this visual, he kind of conceived the entire story and wrote it. And there also you have this triangular structure of a man, another woman, and this trials and tribulation, money coming in, going, and all that. But what was interesting is something for you. You know, the intercut that you see is there in the film, but the book, it's a different, it's 3 possible endings. But when it became a film with Harold Pinter, they intercut between the lives of the actors and the characters written, and it keeps cutting back and forth. So maybe there is a film in your book. So maybe the next thing to do is to make a film where you intercut. Probably you have to look at a slightly different structure and get Harold Pinter involved or some person. But yeah, so there is definitely a story inside this, and it's worth making into something. So I do hope that your dreams are fulfilled in such a manner. And Naina's character is far more complex than Padma's. It becomes so much more intriguing. But having said that, it is truly courageous to write your first novel like this. First of all, cutting back and forth in time. Making sense of one story is difficult. Making sense of 2 stories is even more difficult. And then trying to, talk about subjects like, there's this famous Matru Suktam by Shankaracharya, where he who, after losing his mother, Astam Tavadiyam Prasuti Samaye Durvarushu Vyatha Nairuchyam Tarshoshanam Malami Sayyasa Sambatsari Ekasyapina Garbhabhara Varana Kleshas Garbhabhara Varana Kleshas. This is something, is such a important aspect, but it is swept aside, it's not discussed, and it requires the courage of a woman to write about the real agony and the pressure that this can bring about. And in psychological terms, as your daughter is a practicing psychologist, IVF treatment actually induces a lot of trauma, of emotional trauma for teenagers. It inflames the emotions of people. So all these things that you have written has solid psychological backing, as well as your own personal research. So I do hope that you write more novels and continue writing, and please write about men also. Please write about music. We're all fascinated by music, and all of you are fascinated by music. And do hope that you make this into a film, and it should be seen by a larger number of people. Thank you.
Today is a special day in many ways. First, we had a brilliant young vocalist, Uttara Krishnan, who sings so beautifully. And of course, why not? It is in her legacy, her father, such a great musician. Her family is devoted to music. So Uttara, more and more strength to your voice and to you. God bless you. The second, for me as an artist, I was observing what was going on, and I felt so touched that Mala was here, her daughter is here, and feeling so proud about her mother's achievements. And there is Mahesh there, and Mahesh's son there, Mala and Mahesh's son. The whole family rooting for Mala. I know how special that feels. Absolutely, absolutely. So God bless you. Because of course you sing in so many places, but when Sai is sitting right in the front row and he's steering me, it gives a very special feeling. If my daughters are there, it is even more special. So I know what Mala is going through at this moment. This is what families are about. So hats off to the Mahesh family for being so well bonded and supportive of each other. That's the second reason why I feel this is a special evening. The third is what Mala has written about. I have heard the great writer and thinker Maureen Gaffney write and speak about 4 different reasons or purposes that we have as human beings. The first is we want to protect ourselves. We want to protect ourselves and protect what we value. That's the first, she says. The second is we want to bond with people. And we also want to make intimate bonds and make a family. And of course, make children. That's the second very deep motivation for human beings. The third, we always want to keep learning and learning and learning and growing. And the fourth, we want to achieve. We want to receive accolades. We want to receive affirmation and approbation and acclamation from everybody. So these 4 goals of every human being, Mala has translated into these 2 characters and brought them together, and within their world, within the home, within the village, or within the city, within Naina's home, how these 2 women achieve and realize these goals. The context is different. It's not a corporate world or a politician's world. It's the world of women and working women, but their achievements, every little milestone is a step forward in life. It's a self-actualization. And yes, finally, at the cost of sounding a bit sort of feminist, I'm going to say that it takes a woman to know a woman. And Mala, you know women because you have lived it and you write about these women so beautifully. So congratulations, I'm sure, as Rajiv has said, this will, by God's grace, get made into a film and we'll all congregate together to watch that film. Thank you.
Mrs. Aruna, Mr. Rajiv Menon, all in the dais, Dr. Mayan, Uni, all of you all. Rajesh, sorry, I'm a writer, I'm not a speaker, so that explains paper. So, thank you so much for coming to my book launch, and thank you all for your kind words and encouragement. Uttara, we are your great fans, and thank you especially for that song, Uyirum Niye, so touching. And we too love you for your genuine affection and admiration. Thank you so much. The idea for this book, Padma, came from the stories my grandparents said about the life in the villages. My party, she's 99 years, is a compassionate and an excellent storyteller. She told me about a woman, my ancestor, who endured endless humiliation and harassment because she couldn't conceive. And this lady was targeted by her family just for this one reason. Both my grandmother and I felt that it was unfair to blame her for something that she could not, that was beyond her control. This was my inspiration to write Padma. I want to write a story imagining the pain and isolation such women would have felt and the impact it would have had on their lives and on the family. My initial plan was to write a story about a character, Padma, and her struggles with infertility, setting a story in 1900 Kerala. I mean Kerala because we are from Kerala, we are like basically Kerala Irish, so that's the reference. I based the character of Padma on a mixture of personalities from our family that I heard of from my grandparents. The women at those times were homebound, yet alert and resourceful. I'll share one of the anecdotes that my grandmother had told. There was this
again one of my ancestors, who was traveling first time in a train without a male companion, and by mistake her son put her on the wrong train traveling the opposite direction. This power party had no money and a child to take care of. But this courageous lady managed to find help and return home safely before her son realized his blunder. And I hope some of that presence of mind trickles down to this generation. I faced a lot of challenges while writing this book. One, of course, was time. While I managed to finish the first draft by 2014, my work and other responsibilities slowed the editing process. However, it was my dream to publish the book, so I pushed myself to sit through the bleak days of the lockdown and got to the finishing mark. Another challenge was making up fictitious name for villages in Kerala. No matter what Malayali sounding name I came up with, that place already existed. The strong, loving character of Sheshadri, Padma's husband in my book, was inspired by my grandfather. He was big-built, imposing, a little terrifying when he got angry. And the children we used to call him Bam Boom because he had a loud voice. He was also affectionate and generous. And he had his own way of showing his love for my grandmother, which would actually embarrass her and make her blush. So, as I researched my novel, I was a bit surprised that the taboo surrounding infertility still exists globally. One of the main reasons for the stigma is that the subject is not well understood or talked about. As a result, those struggling with the issue, especially women, struggle alone. At one end of the spectrum, there are people who pass snide remarks and judge the women for her lifestyle choices, even if the problem lies with the man or with both of them. While on the other hand, there are some of us, me included, who have become so conscious of saying something wrong or saying something hurtful that we quickly change the topic when this thing comes up. But our sympathetic expressions on our face could be equally damaging. So I added another character, Naina, set in present-day Mumbai, to make the story more relevant to current times. While the problems these two women face are the same, the way it manifests in their lives, affecting them and their loved ones, are unique to their times. However, both are victims of patriarchy. For Padma, it was insults and accusations from jealous relatives who enforced unfair rules and societal standards on her. While Naina had a lot of resources at her disposal, a past secret seeped in misogyny threatened to be her undoing. While our society should be ideally supportive and non-judgmental, it's not always the case today, let alone in 1900s. So how can we help people like Padma and Naina, insensitively termed as barren, to move forward in life? Perhaps the only way is to look inwards and reflect on our own shortcomings and genuinely empathize with their struggles. Because when you understand a person, kindness follows. Here, I would like to quote a phrase from my book. Truth and courage are interlinked. Whenever your courage fails, staying on the path of truth will give you the guts to stick to your convictions. I hope my book creates a level of empathy and awareness about this issue. And it's not as if the people are heartless or uncaring, but sometimes we all get involved in our life and we don't have the headspace or the time to think about somebody else's problem. If my novel leads to more discussions in public, encouraging people to share their pain, their experience, providing a path for others to follow, then in some way, some small way, I would feel I have done justice to the suffering of my ancestor and other women like her. me. My daughter, Mala Mahesh. But she's Dr. Mala Mahesh, let me say that. And my son, Murli Mahesh, son-in-law, Adil. I'm so fortunate to have a full support all the way from writing, editing, and now promoting PADMA. You all equally deserve credit for bringing this story. Love you very much. I'm also thankful for P. Unikrishnan. We call Unni, Uttara Unikrishnan, Team Silver Tree, who worked along with Mahesh to make this Chennai launch a success. And sitting here, all here and down ahead, are a group of warm, generous people who have come here just to cheer me on. I'm so grateful for your love and friendship. Thank you all so much. Please join me in giving my friends and family a big hand. I hope you all enjoy your journey with PADMA and Anna. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Thank you very much and have a good evening. Thank you.